talk about endpoint management and security. My name is Ravi Shankar, solution architect with Alnafita, with 15 years of experience with Manage Engine and other tools. It includes ITSM, cybersecurity, and certified ethical hacking. And end of the session, your questions will be answered. You have in right side corner question answer panel where you can go ahead and raise your questions. At the end of the session, I will assist you to answer the questions. So as you know, prior to 2020, all the computers were in the office. We come to office, we work from morning 9 to 5, and we leave our work in the office and go back to the home so that we can take care of our home activities. And the COVID changed everything. After COVID, before COVID, there are two different parts of IT. So before COVID, we worked 9 to 5, and after COVID, the stuff changed where work from home culture emerged. So we used to take our laptop and we used to work at home, and there was no office location where we were working. And 2020 and 2021, the things changed again. So there was a partial work from home and partial work from office, where we work 2 to 3 days in office and rest of the day at our home. And that made as a practice after 2023, where we are working both at office and also in work. So there is no working hours now. 9 to 5 is no more. So we are working parallelly in office and also at home. So why this matters here? Why this is a subject on this webinar today? So when the IT equipments or the laptops or the workstations are in our boundary, in our limit, we can protect them. We know the vulnerabilities, we know the drawbacks of that system, and we can protect them. When they are hybrid, they are spread across the geographical location at home. Some people are logging from multiple geographical location like Egypt, Riyadh, Dammam, Jeddah, also from Dubai. So it's making us difficult to protect those endpoints. Today, we will discuss in detail about these difficulties and how to address them. What happens in this hybrid environment? In this hybrid environment, it makes us security blind. We might not know what patches are missing in my employee's laptop who is working from Egypt, who is working from UAE, who is working from different regions, or working from home. Maybe he is in the KSA region, but he is working from home. But I don't know whether his system is patched or the system has been addressed with the correct security vulnerabilities. All we have to identify. Secondly, the experience degradation, whether the device provided to him by IT is performing good, is the boot time is good, is there is any crash or is there any lag on the application. So those points need to be also addressed by an IT department by us. Also, second, the third one is the compliance risk. So we need to be under compliance. So there are a lot of regulatory requirements nowadays. We have NCA, SAMA, ISO 27000, triple C, triple C plus. There are a lot of regulatory requirements. So when this device belongs to information technology, we need to provide report to our auditors that we are compliant under these regulatory requirements. So that is also becoming today's agenda, how we are going to address these concerns. So as you can see, due to this lack of visibility, there was a breach reported by IBM Security under 2023, like 4.5 million has been a data breach. And when the users are working from home or working remotely, when we identify any issues and to fix them, it takes more than 287 days, which is around 9 months to identify and fix them. Also, this will affect the productivity of our employee. So if there is a vulnerability identified, if you are not fixing it, this is going to delay his computers booting and performance issues, which will affect the productivity of the employee, which will affect the ROI of the complete organization. The pillar one. So the pillar one is the foundation for your unified endpoint management. So we need to have a unified endpoint management to address the above concerns which we discussed about. So the first thing is how we are going to identify the vulnerabilities and how we are going to patch them. So we have a concept called risk. So what do you mean by a risk? Risk is nothing but threat. Exploiting a vulnerability is called risk. So what is a vulnerability? What is a threat? Vulnerability is nothing but the weakness within an organization, and threat is an external party which is using this weakness to exploit our organization. So it's similar to an health of an individual. So the individual will have an diabetic or high blood pressure or something, which is a vulnerability in his body. So external virus or bacteria, which is using this vulnerability and affecting the health of the individual, is a simple example for this. And if the systems are not patched, the vulnerabilities, they are considered to be the vulnerabilities. Using these vulnerabilities, the external hackers or the threat agents will try to exploit this vulnerability, which will cause risk for an organization. So this is a quick explanation about what is a vulnerability, what is a threat, what is a risk, and what is an exploit. So these vulnerabilities are spread across our endpoints, like it may be a Macintosh, it can be a Windows, Linux, third-party applications. All this has its own vulnerabilities and then risk on them. So how we are going to address these vulnerabilities, how we are going to fix them. First, we need to identify all the CVEs. So CVE is nothing but common vulnerabilities and exposure. So this common vulnerability and exposure CVE is released by the vendor itself, and they will have a date and time when it is released and for which operating system it has been released and for which software it has been released. So we need to identify all these CVEs. Secondly, we need to categorize them. So we have to categorize them. Is it critical, high, medium, or low? And we have multiple options. Even the vendor itself, they will provide the criticality of this particular CVE. And additionally, we have something called CVSS score. As you can see from this presentation, we have something called CVSS score. So this is nothing but common vulnerability scoring system, and this is built on attack vector combination of CIA triad. CIA triad is nothing but C stands for confidentiality, I stands for integrity, IA stands for availability. If the CVE identified, it's going to affect the confidentiality data in your endpoint, it will have a different rating. If it is going to affect the integrity of the data, it will move the rating high. If it is going to affect the availability of the endpoint itself, the rating will be done accordingly. So the rating starts from 1 to 10. Anything between 9 to 10 are considered to be critical. 7 to 9 are considered to be high. Medium would be 4 to 9. And low would be 0 to 3. So this type of prioritization should be done based on the industrial best practice, which is based on the CIA triad and the attack vector. First thing, we are discovering the CVE, common vulnerabilities and exploits. Second, we have to prioritize them. Third, we have to do a pre-deployment test. Before deploying these CVEs, we have to test it in our pre-production environment, how the behavior of this patches, and based on that, we are going to do it in the production. Again, it goes to the healthcare. So when we are producing a drug for COVID or any kind of virus or bacterial infection, the drug will be tested and then it will be rolled out to the general public. Same like this, the patches will be tested in your pre-deployment environment, and then it will be deployed to the production. And rolling out, we cannot roll out to the complete enterprise like this patch. I'm going to roll out to my organization for everyone. We can do a pilot rolling, like we can roll it out to the IT environment first, second to the user. Like this, we will prioritize based on the process policy, the patching process policy, what we follow in organization. Third is the compliance verification. So then it comes with the compliance, whether we are compliant for any regulatory requirements, so whether these patches are being done. For instance, ISO 27000, any patches above 120 days not patched with the critical criteria, it is an audit mark. So we need to make sure we are under the compliance, we are patching the critical patches, which is not exceeding more than 120 days. So after patching, we need to know the software inventory. The patches will be pushed for the operating systems, Windows, Mac, and Linux, and other operating systems. The second comes to the software inventory, whether we are having a proper software inventory or not. So in the traditional way, how the software inventories are being managed prior to 2020 was mostly via Excel. In my old organization, they used to make an Excel. They need to make a note of all the software which is installed in their environment and manage them. But this is becoming an what to say, not a proper management methodology. We need to have an automated scanning and then managing your software asset inventory. So once you know what is in my organization, then you can protect. Without knowing our boundaries, we cannot protect that. We need to know what is in our organization so that we can protect them. So we need to have a complete hardware inventory and catalog of all the applications installed with the build version and publisher, installation date, all this information, license tracking, whether this is a licensed tool or a non-licensed tool. So if it is anything which is non-licensed, maybe it is a peer-to-peer connection or an vulnerable software which has been installed in our environment, which is a risk for our organization. So we need to have this inventory at any given point of time. We need to know this data. So for instance, if you wanted to know how many TeamViewer is installed in your computer, we need to have that inventory in single place. So now we are going to talk about how we are going to manage this using the Endpoint Central. So this is the Endpoint Central portal. This tool from Manage Engine Endpoint Central, it has the vulnerability database, which is the weaknesses of Windows, Mac, and Linux from the vendor. So this tool is going to check for the vulnerabilities in your environment. It's going to check and scan periodically in your environment. And once the scan is done, it's going. So we discussed about the prioritizing of the CVSS scoring and high, medium, low. Next, I also walk you through the online demo. So how we will identify the CVEs and where we have the CVSS score. Once it is identified, the tool provides you the option to fix it. So what I will do, I will select the CVEs which I wanted to push, and I will click on fix the CVE. So when I click on fix the CVE, I can go ahead and deploy it to the system which has the issues. And this deployment time can also be customized. It is not hard. So we will go ahead and customize the deployment time when this patch or vulnerability need to be deployed in my environment after working hours or on the working hours or when the computer wakes up. I can do that. So for the remote users, we can have a different policy and we can have a different policy for the users from the organization itself. Next, we discussed about the software and hardware inventory. So we need to have an automated process where we will go and scan all your softwares and manage them in one single inventory, identify them, and also identify the vulnerabilities in this software. Next, after the patching of our softwares and operating system, next comes the vulnerability management and hardening your devices. So, patching alone is not going to address your endpoint security. Apart from the patching, there are a lot of misconfigurations and vulnerabilities will be there in our environment. Patching is one of the type of vulnerability. So, apart from the patching, we have a lot of other known vulnerabilities like open port. For example, take the port number 80. If you ask port 80, everyone knows it is mapped to the HTTP protocol. So any application running on the HTTP protocol will be using 80. So this is, as everyone knows it, the hackers also knows this, and then they will use it as an vulnerability to enter into our organization and do the damage. Same way it goes with 443. This is well-known port for HTTPS, and same way it goes for the TLS versions. All these kind of misconfigurations in our endpoints need to be identified. All these type of misconfigurations need to be addressed at the earliest. So for that, again, from this tool, we have the system misconfiguration where we can go ahead and identify the known misconfigurations. For example, this is the geolocation enabled. So where you'll be able to see the geolocations based stuff like this, the vulnerability which is identified. So this kind of misconfigurations you can identify and then you can address them with the endpoint central. Additionally, not only the system is configuration, we have high risk software. When a software will be listed as an high risk, when it is end of life. So we will consider any software, like when a vendor says this software is end of life, what is the vulnerability in it? They are not going to release any patches for them. When they are not going to release any patches for them, the vulnerability remains, and with that vulnerability we have to live with that software, and any external threat using those vulnerability, they can intrude our organization. Not only that, end of life softwares, we have peer-to-peer connections and remote desktop connections. These are all the vulnerable high risk softwares. We have web server misconfigurations. We can identify the misconfigurations in our web server, and once it is identified, we can view the resolution and then we can fix them. So these are all the misconfiguration which we have to address for the endpoints apart from the vulnerability management. These are all the hidden vulnerabilities beyond patching. The patching is the stage one. Bare minimum, we have to patch our endpoints. Once after patching, then it comes up with the misconfiguration. So as we discussed, open ports are few misconfiguration default credentials. So when you take manage engine default credentials admin app. Everyone knows this. Managing has multiple products. One of them is to manage your Active Directory. When you leave it with the default credentials admin, and any of the contract or an third party or an threat agent get access to this product, which is in the old version, which is not yet been patched, and they use the default credentials admin, they'll be able to get control of your Active Directory itself. So the default credentials is also one of the critical area where you have to address. Like the default credentials should not be used. We have to change them. We have to follow the password best practice. The password should be of minimum 8 character, maximum of 18 character or 20 character based on your process. So, continuous scanning of identifying the vulnerabilities, scoring them based on the industrial standards, based on the CVSS benchmark, and auto remediation via patching. So, automated patching is the mandatory one. We have to patch the vulnerabilities automatically whenever, as soon as it has been identified. Compliance reporting is the third one. So once after patching, we need to identify whether our servers are under compliance. So this automated remediation not only includes the patching, also the security in this configuration. Third one, when it comes to the compliance reporting, we need to know there should be a benchmark. Benchmark is nothing but a standard whether our endpoints are up to this standard. We need to identify. So this standard can be fixed by multiple organizations. One of them is CIS. So the CIS benchmark reporting is available out of the box from our manage engine. So where you can map your endpoints to the CIS benchmark and check whether we are under compliant or not. So for example, my computer is of poor compliance, which is 10 to 15, 50%. So at least you have to reach about 90%. So you can see how many policies are being scanned and what was the non-compliance. All those details you can see over here. And you can see there are 400 plus rules which has been scanned. In this, two rules are unscored and passed are 78. So which is a big non-compliance for me. So when I go for the failed ones, it's going to show us like what are all the non-compliance over here. And additionally, it's not only going to show me, it's going to give me a resolution. So what I have to do to fix this. So this is regarding the auto vulnerability assessment and then fixing them. Third is the application control. So we know the inventory of all the softwares which is installed in our organization. Next step. So for instance, in my company, Alnafita, there is a uTorrent installed or myTorrent installed, which is a peer-to-peer connection, which is not allowed at any means in the working environment. So what I will do to define it. So as you know, the traditional antiviruses work based on the signature. So if this is matching, I'm going to block. If this is not matching, I'm going to allow them. So they will have their own signature, the known malicious softwares or known malicious viruses. If any infection is coming with the known, they are going to block. If there is a new infection or if there is something which changed their identity and it's going to come, they are not going to block. So this is not a best approach. The best approach will be default deny for the application control. So default, we are not going to allow any applications. So which application I'm going to allow? I'm going to allow only the list which is approved by my management, because these endpoints are not their own endpoints. These endpoints belong to the corporate environment, and there should be a justification if they are going to introduce or install a new software which does not approved by our organization. How we are going to control this with Manage Engine? So from the Manage Engine, we have something called application control. In the application control, we can create groups. We can create allowed list and we can create block list. So once you create a block list, all the softwares which is in the block list, they cannot use, the users cannot access. For example, here in the block list, I have Nmap and Wireshark. As we know, Wireshark is a thread dump. So it can store all the network data. And if you are passing any username and password, that can also be stored in the Wireshark dump. And that can be later used to verify what username and password is used, all the details in your computer. So this is not allowed in any means in any organization. So now I have it in the blacklisted and it is associated to the group. For example, there are five departments in my company, in which one of the department they use Wireshark. They belong to the network team. So when they belong to the network team, I should allow them. I cannot block for the network guys, but I want to block for the end users and also for managers and other users in the organization. So I will create multiple groups and then I will associate this profile with that particular group. As you can see, this has been created. One profile has been created, and this has been associated with one group. Now, I will go ahead and execute this Wireshark. As you can see from my screen, we have the Wireshark installation file. I'm going to run it as an administrator. Let's see what it's going to do. You can see, even if I'm running it as an administrator with the admin privileges, there is a block message. As you can see, Wireshark is currently blocked in your environment. This application has been blocked by Manage Engine. So for anything, this message can be customized. We need to contact the administrator for that. So this is the application control. We can create the whitelist and blacklist according to our or process document. So what additionally it does? So we spoke about the application control, we spoke about the allowed list, blacklisted application, and default deny rule. So this is for the application control and how we are going to do that. So we have to first have a policy in place where we will define what are all the applications which is allowed. We will create an allow list, and by default, we are going to say all the other application will be in the denied phases, by which we will have an full security control on our endpoints. And additionally, we will have a discovery phase and policy definition phase, policy deployment, and then we'll have the full control. And apart from these features, from the application control, we can identify the administrators, the local administrators and privileged users in your computer. And local administrators are more dangerous than the domain administrator. So once, like as a local admin has been created in your environment, and we will don't have a track how many local admins are there, and whether we remove them or we are managing them, so it makes us difficult. So this tool is going to provide you all the local admins in your environment. And if you wanted to remove this local admin, you can select them in one click. You can go and remove them. Browser security. So as you know, the attack vector has been more complicated nowadays. There is an website based attack, there is a download attack. Anyone is downloading any file which is malicious, we are allowing them, so it is going to affect our organization. Or it can be a different scenario where you don't want the user to print the web page, you don't want them to store the credentials. For example, I'm working for a bank environment, I've been outsourced, I'm working remotely from Cairo. So in that case, I'm saving the bank username and password in my browser. Somehow my browser vault has been compromised. When it is compromising along with my personal data, which is Gmail username, password, or any other passwords, my banking password will get also compromised, which I don't want it to happen. How I will do that? So for doing that, we have browser security from our solution. So using the browser security, you can go ahead and control your browsers. You can go ahead and create the policies and deploy it to your organization. Okay. So this is the browser security. You can see the policies which has been deployed to the system. So currently there are two policies which is deployed, which is file download and another DLP policy. You can define your own policies from the policy tab. So you can manage the add-ons. You can allow or deny the add-ons, and then you can have threat prevention, data leak prevention. All these kind of policies can be enforced to your endpoints. So this is the file download policy which I've created for this seminar. So now we can see the file download is allowed in my browser. So if I'm going to disable this, that means the file download should not be allowed. I'm going to save this. I'm going to publish it. As you can see, the policy has been deployed successfully. That means now I should not be allowed to download any files from the browser. So let's try to download a file from the browser and let me see whether it is blocking. I'm going to the Wireshark, trying to download. So it will be blocked. Let me see whether it is applied. It's published. So we'll block it. Maybe some the refresh intro. So it's going to block them. Not only that, you can have multiple other controls like data leak prevention. So this data leak prevention, I have drafted this. So you cannot allow the users to autofill. You cannot allow them to save the credentials and use the autofill, save the browser history, remember the password. All these type of restrictions you can do. And also, we also help you with the compliance where you can run the compliance against all these benchmarks, CIS benchmark or BSP default benchmark or STIG benchmark. And the fourth pillar would be the device control. So the USBs and peripherals, we need to control them because this is the most common attack vector. No one is governing this. So if the USBs are allowed in our environment, and if anyone is coming in and plug in and their own USB, and maybe unknowingly they used it somewhere in the browsing center or an unauthorized place where some malware has been downloaded on the portable device. If they are using the same device in your organization or any organization, which is going to affect our company, where the virus or malicious data will be transmitted to our organization, and it's going to result in a ransomware attack, or it's going to result in an Trojan attack, or any other case can be any other attack. To control that, we can enforce multiple criteria. Only the encrypted USB devices are allowed in their environment. Only the devices which has been approved by our IT department can be allowed in their environment. So those kind of policies, fine granular policies, we can create and enforce it in our manage engine. So as you can see, we have the device control. So again, this is subjective. We can go ahead and enable controls separately for IT department and for the normal users and also for managers, where we can create multiple policies. We can create a policy for IT department where I will go ahead and say I'm going to allow only the trusted devices. So trusted devices, you can create a list of trusted devices. In the list of trusted devices, you can add based on the device ID or instance ID or multiple criteria. So once these devices are being added in the trusted devices, they are allowed in your environment. And we can also enable a temporary access. Using this temporary access, they will gain access for that particular USB for 1 hour or 2 hour or some maybe X number of time. So after that, the access will be denied. So we need to follow the zero trust environment framework. So where we should not allow any USB devices which is not authorized by from our IT. So default it will be denied, and if they wanted to gain access, they have to make a request. So once the request is approved, we can enable the temporary access for that. So, secondly, there should be an port governance. There should be a port audit. So, when we talk about port audit, we need to know any USB is connected to this device, how many times it has been connected, when it was been connected. All these details we need to know. So, this port audit is available from Manage Engine. So, when you go to the any endpoints from the inventory, you'd be able to see the port option where you'd be able to get the port audit. So what are all the USBs connected, when it was connected, who connected it. So those informations are available from the inventory. So this is a USB audit. Here you'll be able to see what are all the devices which has been connected. So here some earpods have been connected via Bluetooth. Xerox printer has been connected, and what time it has been connected. So you'll be able to do an audit. So you can also select via Bluetooth or disk drive or thumb drive. So you can go ahead and search. Like there is a SanDisk which has been connected on Jan 20, and it was connected by this user. So you can do an audit for your USB peripheral devices connected. Third, or sorry, sixth would be the BitLocker management. This will be the final stage of our security. So when all the stuff are compromised, when the vulnerability, we have patched all the vulnerability, we have did the USB management, we have did the browser security, we have also configured the application control, everything. All these security layers are being compromised. The fifth layer is the BitLocker. Even when they compromise all the four, we when the data is being encrypted, they cannot do anything. So we can encrypt the data using the native Microsoft BitLocker for the Windows machine. And this encryption can be done manually or done from the centralized location. When it is done manually, it becomes difficult for the IT administrators to do it one by one. And secondly, the recovery key. To get the recovery key and manage them will be an very hectic task. Only the IT admin knows the difficulty of this. So we need to have a centralized platform to enable this BitLocker, and the retrieval key or the encryption key should be managed in the centralized platform. And if the user forgets the key, or if you wanted to retrieve the key, that should be retrievable from the centralized platform. And the enterprise BitLocker should have the capabilities like TPM management. If the TPM is not there, at least multi-factor authentication should be there. Automated key retrieval should be there, and there should be a compliance reporting also. So we can discover and apply the policy and roll out to the users. The sixth pillar would be the ransomware. This ransomware, as you know, the default behavior of this ransomware is to encrypt your documents or your data. So this ransomware protection is more critical. With the traditional antivirus or traditional the softwares, what they do, they block based on the signature. So if it is a known ransomware, if it is a known attack, yes, they can go ahead and block. If something which is new, which is not known to that antivirus, what's going to happen? Your environment will be in risk. Your data will be encrypted, and there will be an chaos in your environment. So to overcome this, how we can do that? So for that, we need to have a machine learning and then AI capabilities in your antivirus or in your anti-malware solutions. So what it does in the real time, if there is an unusual activity or abnormal activities are going to happen, it's going to identify them as a ransomware. So after identification, what we have to do, as you know, the ransomware or the attack vectors, what we are going to have now, it's going to be very big. So how, what kind of action we are going to take us more than how we are identifying. Once it has been identified, the system need to be isolated, and once after isolation we have to retrieve the historical, like the encrypted data. So all these capabilities should be included in your ransomware. If it is not included in your ransomware, it's something in chaos. So, and secondly, these kind of ransomware are going to spread in your environment. So when it is going to spread in your environment, we have to isolate the system so that it will not affect the other computers. So behavioral detection should be there. Automatic termination of that process, which is going to be called as a kill switch, should be there. Network isolation so that it will not spread laterally in our other systems. It should be allowed. And recovery of the encrypted files should be there. So does Manage Engine have these features? Yeah, we do have it. We have malware protection. In the malware protection, we have anti-ransomware. So when you go for the incident, it's going to list all the incident which is affected, which is caused because of the anti-ransomware. So there's one of the incident. And as you can see, we have an option to resolve. So when you click on resolve, you can go ahead and enable the kill switch. This is the kill switch. It's going to terminate that process. It will clean up the infection and also rollback. When you select rollback, it's going to retrieve the files which has been encrypted by your the malicious software. Or if you feel it is a legitimate action, you can mark it as a false positive. So this is the detection settings. The anti-ransomware, so we can have it only in the audit mode. So when it is in the audit mode, it is just going to report you there is a malicious activity happened in your environment. So when it is a kill and quarantine, it's going to kill the process aggressively, and it's going to quarantine the system from your network. So we have the standard detection, aggressive. Aggressive, it will be little aggressive on your endpoints. So the seventh module will be the malware protection. So we are protecting from the ransomware, which is an nature of encrypting the data and asking for the ransom. How about the Trojan? How about the virus? How about the worm? Any kind of other infection, whether Manage Engine is providing protection against them. Yes, Manage Engine malware protection is going to provide you protection against this. So again, I come back to the traditional antivirus. Traditional antivirus is signature based, but this is the malware protection. What we are having is based on the machine learning and then based on the AI. So this is our malware protection, where you can see the settings. Antivirus, it is an deep learning engine. So where any kind of data which is being sent by the Trojan in the background, or if there is any attack in memory, all these actions are being identified and it will be reported. Again, we have the two options where you can go ahead and put it in the audit mode, or it can put it in the kill switch. Kill switch, like if there is any abnormal activity is being noted, it's going to kill them and then it's going to quarantine the device. So all these actions are done by manage engine. So this is an agent based solution. There will be a question whether it will put more load on our network or an endpoint or the system. No, it's not going to put overload on your system. It's not going to use more than 1% of your bandwidth, minimum CPU impact. So it is an highly performance based one. So it is an all in one engine where you can do the vulnerability management, you can do anti malware, device control, browser security, all are included in one single solution. The last product or last module would be the DEX. We call it as digital experience monitoring. So normally in the organization, the management or the department will be interested in monitoring the service. So they don't consider the end user devices, which will be a laptop or an Linux machine or any other for that case, like workstations. They don't consider this for monitoring. So it will bring a greater impact. 35% of the organization performance will get impacted because of it. So, for example, I'm providing a webinar. If my system crashes, if my computer reboots, so this will be an impact for my organization as it is impacting the production. So yes, we need to monitor our endpoints. There need to be a criteria or a baseline which need to be defined. So for example, if my laptop CPU is 80 to 85% being used frequently, that is to be considered to be a bad sign. So we need to consider and then we need to check why it's been used 80 to 85%, and we need to resolve this. So this kind of actions can be taken by DEX. So DEX can go ahead and identify your performance of the endpoints. It can go ahead and rate them from 1 to 10. So it is considered if 95% of resources not being used, that means it is excellent health, which is scoring from 9 to 10. If it is 75% is being used, it is 7 to 8, which is going to be having minor issues. Only 50% is going to be fair health. So less than 25%, it is a poor health. So DEX used only for monitoring the endpoints? No. DEX can be used for multiple purpose. So for example, I have an AutoCAD license. So this AutoCAD license is being enabled for all my users in the organization. So not for all, like maybe for 15 users in the organization. I want to know whether those users are really using this application or not. If they're not really using this application, I want to uninstall because I'm paying for this AutoCAD. So how I will manage them? So Dex is providing you an option where you can go ahead and create a workflow, identify when they accessed last time this AutoCAD. If they did not access it for more than 60 days, I can go ahead and create an command to go ahead and send a notification to the user. This notification can be a pop-up message, or this notification can be an email, or this notification can be multiple options we are providing. So once this notification is sent, it's going to we can go ahead and perform an uninstallation. Just give it a minute. This is loading. So my computer has 75%. It's a good score, and this is the setting where you can go ahead and So this is my
So this
text.
is my text. You can see the computer score. My score is 75%, which is a good performance. So the settings can be customized. You can go
You
and
can
customize the
see
settings over
the
here.
computer score. My score is 75%, which is a good performance. So the settings can be customized. You can go and customize the settings over here.
So coming to the workflow section, so we can have multiple sensors. I provided you an example for Adobe, but we do have predefined workflows over here. So for instance, I wanted to check the battery percentage of my computer. So I can create a workflow for the battery. And if the battery is not good, I can go ahead and trigger an email to the IT department so that they will go ahead and replace it. So there's a sample over here. So as you can see, get the battery details. And once we get the battery data checked, the next step would be if the battery is degraded, it will trigger a notification email to your IT administrator, or you can configure manage engine service desk plus email address. It will trigger an email to the manage engine help desk system, which will be converted into an incident or service request. They can replace the battery. So this is one of the workflow. So the next workflow, as we discussed, was for Adobe. So this is removing the Adobe. This- So as the workflow, we are going to check how many computers this Adobe has been installed. Last access time. If the last access time is within 15 days, I will go ahead and remove the Adobe license from the user. So if it has been accessed frequently, like within 15 days, no action will be taken. Additionally, instead of going and doing a remove action, you can also notify the users. It will come as a pop-up saying that this Adobe license be not being used for more than 15 days. If you're on vacation, please inform the IT admin. Or you can go ahead and say the IT admin you don't need this license anymore, so that they can take the necessary action accordingly. And these are all the default workflows which has been provided by Manage Engine out of the box. So what if I need another new script or new functionality? So we have an AI, we call it a Zia AI. So the Zia AI can go ahead and help you to write the script or create a sensor. So for example, I wanted to get the list of media files in the end user PC. So when you go ahead and message it, the Zia AI is going to write the script for you, and also it is going to provide you the steps to create the sensor, by which you can identify how many users are having these media files. That we can just click on create button. So when you click on create, it will create the sensor for the media file. This is a script written by Zia, and you can get it deployed to the end computers. And this is going to check how many users are having this media file. And once it is identified, the next action what do you want to take, you can go ahead and do that. For example, I wanted to notify the users, or I wanted to delete that, or I wanted to report it. So yes, whatever action you wanted to do, you can go ahead and perform it. That's with the dex. And Manage Engine tool can get it integrated with your ITSM ticketing system, which is going to be ITSM Service Displays or any other ticketing system which you're using. Or you can forward the logs to your SIM solution. It can integrate with your AD for fetching the users and authentication. And it will provide you in the GRC governance also. So to implement the best practices, whatever we spoke about earlier, so we need to do a fundamental security analysis, and then we need to do a pilot and checking verification, and then we also have
Yeah. So as the last option slide, you can go ahead and schedule an assessment with us. Al Nafita, we can do an assessment for your existing endpoint central, and then we can provide you a health check report. Or if you are a new customer, we can provide you a personalized demo online or on site and develop a business case and help you to improve the security posture of your organization. Anything, you can email us at info@alnafida.com. We are just an email away. We'll be glad to assist you.